Hello and welcome to Day with the Car Driver as we continue our look at the new tens. Is that what people are calling it?
The teens.
The teens
That's what the youngins are calling it.
of for a full decade of anime.
The 20 gay teens.
Yes, dear. And so we're moving now on to spring 2010, which had one particularly big show that we're not going to cover yet because it started technically in the last year but ended this year. But we're skipping that for now. We're going straight into
Something else that was pretty big.
really big when it aired.
Although I don't think its legacy has done so well.
I still see people talk about it every now and then. Angel Beats.
But I don't think they'd talk about it approvingly.
I think there's a lot of people for whom it was a formative anime.
Oh, I don't deny that.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not something that I think of people as saying like, oh, hey, you gotta watch this.
No. But I definitely think there are a lot of people whom Angel Beats was a gateway drug.
Yeah, no, I don't deny that.
Not even necessarily gateway drug as in it was their first one, but like one of their first 5 type thing. It's like, what's this anime thing? People are talking about this Angel Beats.
So I remember, I can comment too, I watched it when it aired.
Me too.
But I also saw the premiere of the first episode of it dubbed at Anime Boston because I went to the panel for Sentai, which is the company that licensed it, and they were like, hey, we're going to show you this. And I didn't really care, but I sat through it anyway because I wanted to be around for the question and answer period.
Oh, was the dub any good?
Oh, it was perfectly fine.
Oh, well, that's the one.
Except they dubbed over TK.
Yes,
because
I remember that.
Even though he was speaking English,
He's
his
a Funimation.
voice actor was a Funimation employee.
Yes.
I don't know if that's why they specifically taped over him or if it was just they couldn't have possibly done the mixing right if they'd kept the guy. So, and who knows. Actually, though, can I use that to jump ahead a teeny bit?
Yeah.
So, because at that panel, and I think it was Anime Boston 2012 or maybe 13, they also announced the license for Senko no Night Raid, which was released in the US as Night Raid 1931.
Yes, in which you were the one person in the crowd go, yes! While everyone else was very quiet.
But the thing I do want to point out in particular about the announcement, the person who announced it had no idea what it was. And he actually didn't know he was announcing it. He was reading a list of upcoming releases to us. And
oh, yes, I remember
there was
you
a
telling
little
me
bit
about
of a
this.
stir in the crowd. Not a ton of people, because it wasn't as if it was ever a big show. But I noticed a few other people were like, wait, Night Raid? Is that? So I raised my hand. I said, excuse me, is that Senko no Night Raid? The guy didn't know. He had no idea that they'd just done a license announcement.
Yeah. That shows
to give you an idea of how low profile that show was.
So as we've misnamed it in the last episode, it's not Anime Mirai, it was Anime no Chikara time slot. Thank you for
that was
picking
the
up.
second one in it.
Yeah, which unfortunately did even, like, I feel like Stand in the Sky had its defenders.
I'm the only one for Night Raid. I think it's a good show. I've rewatched it since. It is potentially a problematic show, though, given the setting. It takes place in
the era of the Rape of Nanking.
It's a bit before that. It's the lead up to the what's the name of it? It took place in the lead up to the, well, what we now would call the Mukden incident, but which at the time by the Japanese was called the Manchuria incident, which it was a railway bombing that ended up serving as the pretense for the invasion of Mukden or Manchuria, and it was set up by Japanese troops themselves.
The 1930 version of the Bay of Pigs?
The 1931 version of the sinking of the USS Maine, maybe, but that wasn't done deliberately. Anyway, not to get bogged down in that, and in the initial episodes, I think a lot of people dropped it because the characters were expressing an opinion that was pretty widespread at the time in Japan, that it was essentially the Japanese version of the white man's burden. The idea being, oh, well, see, Japan's going to come in and we're going to kick out all those Europeans who've been screwing things up, and we're doing it for other East Asians. And, we're going to help you out and we're going to fight for you and then we're going to improve your lives because you actually are completely uncivilized barbarians and you need us. And a lot of people saw the characters expressing the more benign version of this, like, hey, we're doing this for them. And they're like, oh, see, this is revisionism. I'm dropping it. When, no, the characters would have had that attitude. And if you watch the whole show, it's not supportive of that attitude. I would say this, though. The one Chinese character who shows up in every episode, oh my god, the way she speaks is so weird. It sounds like she's got rocks in her mouth the whole time.
I think I remember her. I've got vague memory. I dropped
and
the
it's
episode
this
where they
fake
chased
accent.
I dropped on the episode they chased the cat.
It had good OVAs too.
Yeah. There were kind of a number of shows that they tried this season that didn't quite work. Like, who remembers Heroman? Stan Lee.
I just unfortunately remember all the porn they drew of Joey. Not because I was trying to find it either.
Yeah, that was...
I never saw any of Heroman myself.
I saw one episode. I tell you what, I did see all of.
I liked the color palette from the screen caps I saw. It just wasn't something I was interested in.
What I actually saw all of, and was also very colourful, and was also quite, like, trying something relatively new at the time, was Break Blade. Mm-hmm. Broken Blade. That kind of 6 movies.
Yeah, I remember that. I always meant to watch them, and then I didn't.
The mech I really liked the animation for the mech battles in it. Because they were very kinetic and quite slow. And, like, every punch felt really weighty. Which is more I prefer those kind of mech battles to the laser spam.
Oh, man, you'd love Gasaraki then.
Maybe I should watch Gasaraki.
Actually,
then.
I'm kidding. I don't know if you would.
Like, if they when a big giant robot swings a sword at someone, it hits them and the like bits fly off and they do like 2 tumbles and they don't do 2 tumbles. No, they keel over sideways because they're big, massive mechs. It's kind of a fantasy as well. It's kind of halfway between fantasy and sci-fi because it's all 2 magic crystals. I don't actually remember much details about the actual plot.
So is it maybe a little bit like the sort of mech show that Escaflowne is?
Yeah, Escaflowne, I think, is...
That's also, like, crystals and such.
That's way more fantasy, though.
Oh, well, yeah.
Much like Escaflowne, very well animated, although I think Escaflowne had a more distinct style.
Except for those horrible noses.
That's part of its distinct style.
Yeah, that bothered me, though. OP's very good, but we should probably steer back towards the stuff that actually aired at this time.
Distinct styles. Yuasa had what I think is his most critically acclaimed piece of all, is Tatami Galaxy.
Yeah.
I think it still is.
I think it's the broadest appeal, maybe.
Yeah.
Although then again, a tunnel of neon-colored rubber nipples might not be for everyone.
No, but like that, it's Yuasa, he does weird stuff. I really like Kaiba, but that appears to have been forgotten by time.
I really enjoyed Tatami Galaxy. I am kind of an odd one in that I'm not that big on Yuasa, which Devilman Crybaby was kind of my moment of, maybe I just don't really like most of this guy's stuff. Granted, while I can see why, say, Ping Pong or that Suritama, was that him?
No.
Okay, well, I can see why Ping Pong, I can see it objectively as, like, why it's good, but it doesn't do much for me.
Suritama was by the guy who did, I'm pretty certain it's by the guy who did Trapeze. Yes. With same wheelhouse, kind of, yeah.
But I did like Tatami Galaxy.
Yeah, there's some really fantastic episodes in Tatami Galaxy. I really like the one where he discovers all the infinite tatami rooms.
Yeah, and he gets stuck eating all the castella because there's nothing else to eat.
That's a brilliant episode.
I also liked the concept of the black string of fate.
Oh god, with him and the wordplay for how he described Ozu in every episode. Wonderful. I should watch Night is Short Walk On God. I'm sure by the time we reach that season, I'll have seen it. Because that's basically it's basically that again.
Yeah, I've heard it is.
Another thing that was like quite critically acclaimed at the time, but it feels like no one talks about it anymore, is Rainbow.
See, I'm not sure that I recall it as being quite as critically acclaimed at the time. I remember a lot of people watching some of it and dropping it because they felt it was very, very melodramatic to a degree that they didn't find enjoyable.
I feel like I saw a lot of people watching it.
I feel like it's something I've always meant to go back and finish because I watched the first few episodes. And I can sort of see why people would say, oh, it's melodramatic. But I think for the subject material, of course it is. It was, the original story was...
It's 1950.
It's about how
prison.
All these kids got sent, delinquents got put into these horrible prisons.
Sexually assaulted.
Just abused horrifically. And it's been...
While suffering from radiation poisoning in some cases.
Yeah, and it was mostly covered up, and it isn't something that even now has been fully reckoned with.
Yeah.
So I felt that the charge of melodrama was perhaps unfair, given that, maybe it seemed outrageous to the viewer, but they were trying to reveal something that had happened.
Yeah. You can still be melodramatic while being truthful, though. It can still feel too much. I think the thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way about it, like I watched it and I dropped it in the end, but I dropped it because they finished the story and then we're just doing weird side stuff. But the thing that always annoyed me about kind of people who... It was around about the time Moe was probably at his height, maybe the year before.
Man, it was totally the opposite of that.
It's so opposite of that the kind of people for whom hated that would be like, you're not watching a real anime like Rainbow. And it's like, screw you guys.
Yeah, I didn't end up finishing it. I paused on it because it was such heavy material that it wasn't something you could watch if you weren't in that sort of mood.
Yeah. It's very overly dramatic.
I remember liking the visual style. It was a Madhouse production.
Oh, but if you want to talk visual style, I just want to talk about my baby from this
your
season.
baby visual style.
True. You like March.
Yeah.
Yeah. This Our Cow Under the Bridge is my mini communist comedy little show under the bridge. That was a weird and beautiful little show. It was the first Shaft show I actually really... Well, I really liked the Monogatari series, actually, and that started before now. Which will... Like, this is... Monogatari is kind of airing already at this stage. I think they're still putting back in Monogatari OVAs out at this stage, but we'll talk about that, because we'll get plenty of chance to talk about Monogatari.
You should probably just have a whole episode just to talk about that franchise.
Yeah, but Our Cow Under the Bridge, it's a secret little favourite of mine. Just this mad capitalist guy and getting his trousers stolen by a bunch of unruly kids and gets saved by a crazy girl who lives under a bridge. And it's got great art style. It's like not pervy at all, which for Shimbo at that time was really rare. Actually, I
feel like for a Shaft show period, that's pretty darn rare.
Shimbo and Shaft were pretty at this time. I think it's changed more nowadays.
Okay, I would just like to point out that in March Comes in Like a Lion, we had a comparison made between the older sister's breasts and Peach's. It was totally done visually. It's not like anyone commented, but it was pretty obvious what was going on.
A sneaking suspicion that was possibly in the original.
Yes, but if you're trying to claim that Shaft writ large doesn't tend to have...
No. I mean, I think there was one episode where she got out of they thought she was in a bath, but she got out and she was wearing like a swimsuit and it was like, oh, darn. Wait, I mean... One that like no one talks about anymore is Giant Killing, which was like, again, another one of these like critical darlings at the time. About football.
I still see people occasionally bring it up.
Really?
But it's usually if they're doing something like, hey, remember Ace of Diamond? Oh yeah, what about Giant Killing? People are like, I like sports shows, but I like sports shows that are serious and about adults. Or, I heard I saw someone mention it with reference to, what was that kind of crappy baseball show? The one where the guy is older and...
Oh, I know the one.
Just came out like 2 seasons ago.
I know the one you're talking about.
Gurazeni. Yes.
Yeah, I do think Giant Killing it's definitely the best soccer anime. Not being one of those kids who grew up with Captain Tsubasa.
Yeah, I feel a little bit unable to comment when I haven't seen Captain Tsubasa.
But it is, and like in terms of sports shows that are very clearly about sports. Rather than necessarily about gambling, so that would cut out like 1-outs. I think it's one of the better ones. It's
you're not counting Vice Kreuz's sports show. One of the assassins used to be a soccer player in the J League, but he wasn't anymore because he had tested positive for something after someone gave him a tainted drink.
That's pretty heavy
anyway,
stuff.
Sorry.
He should appear in Giant Killing. Did anyone even watch the Bungaku Shoujo anime?
So it was they were movies
and there was like
that
3
they
OVAs
started
as
coming
well.
out this season. And I remember people not liking them. It's really what I remember. Folks who were fans of it weren't nuts about it.
You've actually read the books.
I've read some of the books. Book Girl, Yen Press released them. I think I read 3 or 4 of them. And this would have been, I think I was in college when I read them. They were pretty decent. Once you got past the initial conceit of, oh, this kid, well, you see, he had such success as a novel author. He had a nervous breakdown from the pressure of writing the follow-up that he just can't, he doesn't want to write anymore, and he's at this school. Isn't that 15? So sad? He's like 15 or 16. Yeah. And then the titular book girl comes into his life, and she's like, hey, I'm hungry, and I'm actually a book demon, so you need to write stories for me so I can eat them. Once you get past his stupid thing of like, oh, I suffer, it's pretty solid. The character's fairly good.
The books, though, not the movies.
Oh, yeah, the books. I didn't see the movies because they were panned.
Yeah.
I don't know, but who knows? People get upset when stuff gets changed, so I have no idea.
I'll tell you a show that was actually secretly really, really popular this season. Probably only on
Secretly?
Yeah, well, I guess. Do people talk about it anymore? Working.
Oh, anymore? Once in a while, see someone mention it.
I think Working is possibly the second biggest show of the season.
To me, Working revealed the desire, at least in Western fandom, for shows that were more about people's workplace experiences, even as part of the cast were teenagers.
Yeah.
To me, yeah.
They wanted sitcoms. I compare it to the one where the devil works at a McDonald's.
Devil's Part-Timer.
Yeah, it's kind of similar. Obviously, that one's a bit more fantastical. This is more. I mean, it's a goofy sitcom, but there's no fantastical elements to it.
Yeah.
And all I do know about the show is that Yamada, the girl who everyone likes, purple hair. Yeah, and who had some pretty great.
I just know that
I feel like a clip I see of her is like, yeah, she seems good. Because I only watched one episode. It wasn't really my thing.
There's the really short girl in it who's named Poplar because her parents wanted her to be tall, so of course she's short as hell.
Yeah, and he said he looked like a shrimp or something.
So I don't remember that part. No. And I also remember the OP.
Oh, I can't. One. So, yeah.
Yeah, someone else.
Oh, is that what it was?
I know that was where it ended.
It was also when these cute girl shows were all quite popular. Well, actually, they still haven't stopped being popular.
I mean, it was, but because the cast wasn't totally cute girls.
Unlike K-On!
But I know, too, they had the, like, oh, you gotta have the girl who's scared of guys.
Just like K-On!
Oh, was there in that?
I thought Muggy was scared of guys.
I saw the first episode.
Not Muggy, sorry. Who's the one who everyone crazy about? Because this K-On! Season 2 came out this season. And K-On! Was fucking huge.
I mean, people still talk about K-On!
Yeah, K-On! Is one of those
ones. It's not like it's obscure.
Yeah. Like,
it's not like Haruhi Suzumiya.
K-On! I feel like... I remember at the time people saying, like, K-On! People... it's the anti-Moe crowd. Who... Like, I don't like Moe shit, but... man, some of those people were the most obnoxious people. It is weird to look back now and think that Moe hasn't died, but like the craze is over.
Yeah, things have gotten different.
K-On! Was just...
It was huge. Actually, what I found funny about K-On! Too was the people who were into it who were big music nerds.
Oh, yeah.
They were like, oh my god, check out the guitars. That's like an actual Les Paul. Oh my god, do you know how much that thing costs in real life?
Oh, there's all these stories coming out of Japan about how all these 14-year-old girls would go into music shops and be like, I want the bass guitar so I can be like... Who's the black-haired girl with the striped underwear?
I don't know. See, I just don't know their names.
Mio.
Okay.
That was her
I
name.
saw the first episode.
I saw the... I just saw like 4 or 5.
It wasn't my kind of show.
It's not my kind of show either. But man, yeah.
I
hold no ill will towards it anymore. I probably certainly did at the time.
I never did. It was just like, yeah.
I think I did because I was one of the people. But I definitely like notice the people who are just so shitty about it and being like, I don't want to be like...
so boring.
Yeah.
People... There does seem to be a particular class of fan, and they're in every fandom, I swear, who find it far more enjoyable to expend energy on hating what people like rather than liking something themselves.
I mean, the always frustrating thing is people always consume that content more than the stuff you liking stuff. As someone who was more than happy to write about how much I hated something.
Well, and I mean, I'm saying that too as someone who tends to be pretty...
Spends a big chunk of the last episode saying how much you hated Harry Suzumiya.
I just didn't like it. I don't find it funny to watch. I don't find that class of comedy funny. I don't think a person is rampantly abusive to people around them is a particularly funny thing. I was going to say more generally, I know that I tend to be pretty negative, and I am much more cynical than I think a lot of people are. Just look at my Mal score. My average.
I think yours might be slightly higher than mine.
It's like 5.7.
I think what's interesting about K-On! Is I think you can track its popularity to the cute girls doing X thing that is like, it's no longer enough to have just cute girls.
Yeah.
Those stuff don't do well anymore. It's cute girls going to Antarctica. It's cute girls going camping. It's, cute girls driving tanks.
We have not gotten to winter of 2018 yet, my dear.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's like...
I get you.
Talking about its influence, even though this is season 2.
Also, arguably, it's the template that,
yeah,
from that point, KyoAni was following.
Yes.
Look at Free, for example.
KyoAni changed after
Free
K-On!
Is basically...
In fact, it's actually...
Look, I'm just going to say it. Free is K-On! But with boys in a pool.
That's true.
That's not a
Free's
knock.
a bit more like, check out these hot things, whereas K-On! Was look at these cute things, but they weren't like, it wasn't a pervy gaze.
But I can say this about Free, and then we should go loop back to the current season.
Yeah.
As someone who grew up swimming competitively, man, they got the details on that right. People will say, like, oh, it's not a sports show. Those people can only say that because they don't actually know what swimming is. That is totally a sports show.
Anyway,
let's
move on.
We might as well move on and make a real break and, hit up Black Lagoon.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is Roberta's Trail. I am so sad we haven't got more Black Lagoon. This was just the OVA they put out that was entertaining, but it's like...
admittedly, the extreme slowness of the author did not help. Because I think we're down to like a single bound volume a year from him.
Oh, if that. I mean, hey, I don't think we're getting any more Trigun either. Although, for what it's worth,
Why would we?
I think Badlands Rumble was a fantastic movie and a great send-off
which premiered
in the US
at SakuraCon.
I remember reading an interview. I think it was I can't remember where I read this. I think it might have been the A&N cast where they actually talked to the director, and he had all these people coming up like, I grew up with Trigun, I am bringing my child so he can grow up with this him, and we are so happy to see this art piece. And he like came away from these being like, it's just a popcorn flick. What are they so crazy about?
Well, obviously, it premiered in the US because they knew where the audience was for it.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, I find it really surprising that there was a Trigun movie made at such a late date.
I think it did okay as well.
Yeah. Oh, God, it certainly did in the US.
I
don't know how it did in Japan, though.
Big wind-up, though. Speaking of sequels.
Wow, talking about... Yeah.
I feel like I had 3 seasons. Like, you can't really complain.
What?
Big wind-up. It's because they were on season 2.
It had 2 seasons.
There was... Oh, was there not? Oh, yeah, you're right.
The first season was 2 core.
Yeah, there was only the second season here. I liked this show, but like... I feel like it has been
I have mixed feelings about it.
It has been so superseded by Haikyuu by now.
I have mixed feelings about it because I know that people were like, oh, it's so, it does the technical details about baseball and this, that, and the other. It actually does stuff that, if you know baseball, doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And some of the things it makes claims about when it's going through explanations just is not true. But a lot of people who watched it did not watch baseball normally. So me watching it, I was like, that's actually bad tactics in this situation. You really should So that made it a little hard for me to enjoy it. I found it much more enjoyable, the relationships between the characters and the characters themselves. I also, too, with big wind-up, and this is my problem with baseball anime as a whole, I find myself watching the matches and I'm like, why am I watching this when I could watch an actual baseball game?
Let me tell you about one outs. That's not going to... Well, I mean, all the people...
Yeah, I guess you watch big wind-up instead of the actual baseball game because it only takes, even if it's, oh my god, that game lasted 5 episodes, and I'm like...
There was one game that lasted like 13 episodes. 13, 14.
Big deal. I've sat through baseball games that have lasted like 7 hours.
There was a game in Big Wind-Up that lasted about 7 hours.
Okay, well, that's more legit.
Yeah, okay, that fits it. I mean, to be honest, most people who watched Big Wind-Up did because they were shipping. It was actually like unusually good.
I mean,
there was a lot of people.
Maybe it wasn't all of them, but it was pretty obvious that it had a large female fan base, and I find it impossible to believe that
the authors
weren't aware of it at that point.
Some of the jokes they made. But this seemed like it's actually an unusually good season for like, hey, are you a girl? Here's some hot guys. Which is definitely more true nowadays, but back then less so.
I don't know. Is it really that true nowadays?
There's a hell of a lot more shows for women nowadays, I feel.
Yeah, but we're still talking like, oh wow, what a big season. You got 3 shows. And they're all shitty otome adaptations. Ooh, isn't that
Speaking
great?
of shitty otome adaptations...
Okay.
Hakuoki.
You know, I have played one of the Hakuoki games.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced it was a shitty adaptation. I think Hakuoki is punishingly boring, which is ridiculous considering the content, or rather, it shouldn't be true. The first season of Hakuoki aired this season. There's been a lot. There's a lot. There's been a bunch of OVAs.
Yeah.
This thing is huge. I'm kind of astonished because what I saw of the first season was so boring.
People love them Shinsem Gumi.
But it's...
That's the only reason why Gintama's got 400 episodes. That's not true, but...
Yeah, I was going to say, I find that a little bit doubtful.
Although, let me tell you, there are definitely shippers.
But that's the thing with Hakuoki.
Yeah.
This should have been good. Or it should have at least been somewhat interesting. It's about like, oh man, we've got all the boys with their swords, and you know, we're fighting against the Choshu rebels, and blah blah blah, and oh, by the way, there's also this weird demon curse we're dealing with. This should have been good, but it's so boring.
They have the usual
and
wet
the girl
blanket.
Just gets... They don't let her do anything. It's like, yeah, okay, we'll let you pretend to be a guy, and like, we'll bring you along on things, but you're gonna stay in the corner, and if you don't, someone's going to threaten you, and one of us will have to slice through them with a sword as flower petals fly across the screen. I mean, it's not bad to have that kind of thing. Swords slashing and flowers flying. It's just that she was not a good lead.
It felt like that followed a trend. That's just like a trend in otome games where it's like, hey, useless main character.
But that is changing. Some more of the stuff where you have more active leads is beginning to get adaptations, which is good, because that has been the primary issue with a lot of these otome adaptations.
Would you have preferred it if Betrayal Knows My Name had been the big... That's not even an otome game.
No, that wasn't good.
It was a manga, wasn't it?
Yes, and it was by, I think it's Hotaru Odagiri. She was the author of Only the Ring Finger Knows, which was huge when it got published in the US. That was back when... a particular entity that's having legal problems, Digital Manga Publishing, or is it Press, DMP, put out 2 things initially because like, we're going to have a yaoi line, and the crowds cheered. A whole line dedicated to yaoi alone? Oh my god. Anyway, she was the author of one of the first things they put out.
But Uragiri not good.
It's not. It's so bland.
In Western fandom, like the show that girls liked is and kind of followed a trend of what a lot of shoujo ended up being.
One thing I'll point out though, Uragiri in the West was released as The Betrayal Knows My Name.
Yeah. Oh, did I say it wrong?
No, you kept calling it Uragiri, so I wanted to clarify.
But the one that like and it kind of followed a trend that followed on from kind of Kimi ni Tsudoke of the high school shoujo romance maid-sama.
Yeah.
Kaicho no wo maid-sama.
I would say, though, that it was definitely, like, Kimi Toto's, like, the...
Fluffy.
No, I was going to say it's more of the, what's the word they use?
Shoujo sparkles?
No, I was thinking, I tend to think of it as being considered as being more up the food chain.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's more, you get an approving nod from someone if you
Not
say
elite, but sort of like
less
premium, less trashy.
Maid-san was a wee bit trashy.
I mean...
It's like, oh no, he saw me in my maid outfit.
I guess if you can...
so devilish.
I mean, if we call that trashy, that's a pretty minor form of trash.
There's a whole... I mean, I've seen those collections of trashy manga titles.
Trashy shoujo? I read trashy shoujo. We're talking like The Devil in Her Love Song or Missions of Love, which... That's even weird because it's middle school kids.
Where do all those really trashy, like, porno...
Oh, Dessert is one of the magazines that a lot of the trashier shoujo runs in.
But the ones that you see on, like,
Cheese, that's another one.
But one that you see on those, like, on e-shops, where it's like...
Oh, those ones where it's...
It's like, the student council... No, it's more like, my boss saw me naked and wants to have my babies...
Yeah, but that's josei.
I guess
it's not shoujo.
But there's a bunch of them that are very, like, high schooly as well, though.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Hot Gimmick. Now there's some trashy shoujo.
I mean, if we're talking trash, we're going to go full yaoi. But there's something... Oh, what's the English?
Full yaoi?
Well, what's the name of this one in English?
That's not shoujo.
That's just yaoi.
That's just yaoi. And it's porn, too. Okay. Yeah. Someone's going to say, no, it isn't. It's ecchi. They have sex on screen. Okay, maybe you can't see
There's
cocks,
a dick in a
butt.
What's it called?
The Tyrant Falls in Love. The first OVA came out this season.
There's a dick
This
in
is
butt.
another title that when the manga was released in the US was huge. Oh my god. Folks, this is not a good show. It is the whole, it's rape. Okay? It's a rape show. It's, we've got this homophobic guy who's an asshole to our actual lead character, and but the lead character used some drugs to immobilize him. It's like, haha, you're homophobic, but what now? Oh, I touch your dick, and it's responding. That is what The Tyrant Falls in Love is. It's awful. It's also, I think they're high school students.
Man, let me tell you, when I was looking through the stuff in this season, and I clicked on the or 18 plus tab just to see, like, well, was there any yaoi stuff? And then I saw the hentai, and it's like, there's some pretty, like, rapey hentai that came out this year.
Well, yeah. And you didn't even know The Tyrant Falls in Love.
No.
Yeah. I watched the first episode because I didn't know that much about it. And I didn't realize...
younger and more innocent.
You were like... In 2010, I turned...
22.
22,
yeah,
so
okay.
No, not really. But yeah, I watched it because a lot of people seem to dig it, and I was like, I can't delete this off my computer fast enough. Holy shit, help. I'm gonna get arrested.
One thing because we're kind of in the middle of the trashy stuff, and I probably shouldn't have, in my little notepad here, shouldn't have put this.
Probably should.
House of Five Leaves is like, I think it's like, in my head I was like, well, I had lots of guys and they were kind of gay, and they were like samurai-ish.
We probably should have talked about after Hakuoki, if anything.
Or even after Tatami Galaxy, because this was in the era of when Noitamina was still making Noitamina shows.
As opposed to
whatever crap they make nowadays.
Oh, what's the name of that one?
How to Train a Girlfriend.
Oh, How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend, which whenever I see there's some promo art for it, and it bothers me so much because her breasts are so buoyant, there's got to be helium in them.
Here's the depressing thing, though. Like, House of Five Leaves and Tatami Galaxy, like, was the lowest ratings they ever got, and they were like, we need to expand, and then Fractal came out.
I thought the lowest ratings ended up being in the wake of the big earthquake, and it ended up being Wandering Sun and the other one that was
Fractal.
Okay.
Yeah, but this was before.
Granted,
This was when the decline actually started, because before this there was like, there was a live action they did really well, but I don't remember what it was.
The Nodame live action?
Was that in Noitamina?
I think that ran in Noitamina.
No, because no, I don't think it did. No, Nodame regularly ran there, but like Ina the East did incredibly well. There were a few other things, and then like Trapeze didn't do well. And then
I will say this though, and Fractal is a bad show.
Yeah.
But it and Wandering Sun, like, if you look at when their ratings really fell off the cliff, it was after the earthquake. No one was watching it.
No. But the Kalasanoid Tamna's ratings that around here, which is when they... And this, I feel like this was the season they actually decided, like, we need to get more populist. Which is
garbage.
There's still some good stuff that came out of Noitam later.
Yeah, but something that I think people tend to sometimes think is No Automata isn't. March comes in like a line. It does not run on it.
Yeah, they ran some,
They're running Kiss X Sis. No, they're not. I had to transition somehow.
I just want to
We're going back to the trash.
Let's fast forward all
Okay,
this
Kiss
crap.
X Sis. I saw an episode of it. It's really boring. It's you get to kiss your sis. Wow, shocking.
Wow, what a new and exciting concept that wasn't then followed up by the rest of the decade.
Let's see, Demon Lord Daimo, which was...
There was a panty shots girl who had panty shots all the time, but she was wearing like I don't know what it's called, but the kind of like old school Japanese things.
Undies?
Yeah, but the ones that's like the string that's wrapped around.
Oh, like you see on
sumo wrestler.
The sumo wrestlers.
Yeah, so she was wearing sumo wrestler thing, upper thing, but so it's like, so you got a lot of butt.
That is kind of funny, though.
Yeah.
Like, as a means of fan service, I will grant that is at least clever. Wait, was that in Demon Lord Daimo?
Yeah.
God, I didn't see any of it.
I saw like one episode, and then I looked up more.
Then there's Mayoi Neko Overrun, which I constantly mix up with...
Nyan Koi.
Nyan
Koi is a lot more respectable.
Nyan Koi had a hot...
Mayoi Neko Overrun, though, did have one episode where they had an epic ping pong game.
I just wouldn't know because I didn't watch it.
You
know what, folks? I don't want to fuck a house cat. That's why.
Well, maybe I do.
I do not want to fuck a house cat.
You watched Ikki Tosen, though, and there was
Look, at least... Look, if I'm going to have my perv shit, if I'm going to have to sit through tits flying everywhere and undies flying everywhere, I want the girls to at least be capable of kicking ass. And they're not just like, oh no, I tripped. I
don't think that's what the girls in Neko Overrun... I watched the first one.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Look, I don't want to fuck a house cat.
Actually, the one show that like gets tossed in with these, but is not actually trashy, is
Yamada's first time.
Be Gotta H Gay, which is like a girl who's like, I want to fuck 100 guys. Oh yeah, check out my vagina. Like the first episode, they're holding up a thing to her vagina, going like, how can I make this prettier?
Yep.
And then it turns out that it's not like pervy, but it's also not about like purity. It's about like teenagers who want to be hot shit, and then it turns out they don't know anything about sex, so they just get all embarrassed.
Yeah, Yamada is a girl who is horny as hell and wants to have loads of sex and has no idea what the hell she's doing.
Yeah.
Although I did find it creepy, there's one episode where she tries to trick someone into touching her boob. And I think of it this way, if we thought of the equivalent, you flip the genders and it's like, oh, I'm doing this stupid thing to try to get a girl to touch my naked dick. I don't know that we would have laughed quite so much. But...
it's so harmless, I find. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I find it so... In the context of the show, it's so... It's exactly the kind of thing I feel like a dumb teenager would try to do and then be like, what am I doing afterwards?
Yeah, I think it failed completely. It was like in a dark room. She said, like, I'm going to take off my shirt and I'm going to have him touch my boob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually like, of the things here, it's like one of the few ones I'd be like, yeah, you know, if you went back and watched that now, I'd be like, this is okay.
I will certainly grant it this. I think its heart was in the right place.
Yeah.
But... we're going to move back into the prestige realm.
Yeah, let's talk about the one that... So, I was like, even before we started this, I was debating whether we'd cover stuff that started in 2009 and then ended in 2010. But it would be stupid to go through a decade without talking about things like Shippuden, for example, or Bleach.
Did Shippuden start?
It started in 2007, but it ended...
Really?
Yes.
Oh my god, I feel old.
I know, but it's like...
I remember when that was new.
It's stupid to not talk about stuff like that. So in that case, this was the season Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood ended. Which, as of now, unless some like absolutely crazy thing comes out between now and when we put this up, is still the number one rated anime on my anime list. Part of that has to do with being 74 episodes, so you need to have seen more to actually have your rating count. But which is weird considering it actually opens kind of like its first episodes are the weakest because there it's like, yeah, you've seen this all already.
Yeah, I drafted the first episodes.
Man, no one talks about no one talked about the original Fullmetal Alchemist now.
I still see people mention it.
I feel people mention it, but I feel like I only see people mention it in the context of Brotherhood, though. It's kind of old standovers who are like, well, I still prefer the original.
See, I did prefer the original, but that's not surprising to me in that the original deviates more from the original source material. And I read 5 or 6 volumes of the manga, and I didn't really like it too much. Or rather, I didn't like it enough to continue. And that's because it is more shonen than the first adaptation.
Yeah, the original Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is a lot more... it's more thematic depth, I think. But it is a hell of a lot messier. Like, the plot is kind of nonsense.
It was
and
also...
doesn't finish properly, whereas none of these are things you could level...
I don't know that I'd say it doesn't finish properly. It leaves a lot of stuff up in the air still.
Yeah.
But I kind of liked that too, myself.
Whereas, like, if you want a plot that, like, covers every base and finishes it from beginning to end, like, Brotherhood does that. Brotherhood in many ways is so...
I also, the original... Because of when it was coming out, it was so much more obviously a critique of the Iraq War.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, really, go back and look at it. Also, it was a better one than Howl's Moving Castle. Granted, I like Howl's Moving Castle, but... Yeah,
and then there's... Yeah, but Brotherhood is more like... Genocide is bad. Which is like...
We definitely had that in the original, too, though.
Yes. But, like, yeah, I'll say, like... That's the thing of being harsh on Fullmetal. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is, like... Incredibly well-constructed, entertaining characters. It delivers on every promise it makes. Which is a huge deal. It's huge that it can do that for every character. It makes you feel like sitting through every episode is worth it, which for a 74 episode show, I think it is so big, and it makes it feel so valuable to keep watching it. And it's why it's held in such high regard, is because you get that whole way through it and you're like, that was everything I wanted from the show it gave me. And it did it so continuously, and it was like well animated, it was kind of entertaining, it was never too dreary, it was never too lighthearted. It's a really, really good show. I know you don't like it. I know
Well, I didn't watch past the first few episodes because I was like, this is a lot more shonen-y. It's more like the manga in that regard. I'm not actually big on shonen writ large, so... but I can say that I had the colleague who recently watched it.
Yeah.
So I should note, sometimes I work night shift and it's really slow at night at work. So if I'm saying, oh, my colleague was watching it at work, it's because there's nothing to do otherwise. And he finished watching it during one of the shifts. He's all choked up. And one of the other folks was talking to him. He's like, oh, I guess it was really good. He's like, yeah, it was really good.
Brother, I feel like at this stage, Fullmetal Alchemist is one of those shows that like it will probably be talked about in like of everything on this list. Like I feel like K-On! It's not quite. It's kind of, you look back at K-On! Now and say like, wow, it was very influential in retrospect, but the kind of thing that people still talk about, still go back to watch. Brotherhood will outlive absolutely everything here by orders of magnitude.
If I look over the list, I feel like the only thing that might... The only thing I really see on here that I can see people talking about going forward is, I think House of Five Leaves pops up in the art house crowd.
Oh, I see that, yeah.
That's probably it.
And I think K-On! has a certain... I mean, we're talking about the second season.
I mean, K-On!, yeah, people definitely discuss it, but if it's like, okay, flash forward to, say, 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Then I could see K-On! dropping off. But I think you're right about Brotherhood, and I think I'm right that House of Five Leaves probably is going to have that sort of sleeper art house.
I mean, there's some shows that people still talk about, but it's kind of like in reference to the time period. Like no one necessarily talks about Trigun in the sense of going back to watch it.
I went back and watched the show itself, and
I do definitely still see people talk about Black Lagoon. I feel like that's what people keep going back to.
I also feel like when when people go back to Black Lagoon, a lot of times it seems to be more like, oh man, I wish they'd made more of this.
Yeah. Whereas Brotherhood feels like one of those shows that's like...
New fans watch Brotherhood.
Yes.
And I would say, looking at this list...
Brotherhood's one of those ones that like nearly every anime fan will see, and if they haven't seen it, they feel ashamed to have not seen it. Or they have a very specific reason to have not seen more.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Black Lagoon is one of those things that you might hear of, and it's like, oh, maybe I'll watch that one day if it pops up.
Yeah.
Whereas...
Although, then again, we're forgetting Tatami Galaxy. Do we really think no one's gonna... I feel like that has some...
That has lasting power in the sense that it was a critical darling, but... It's not the popular choice.
So to me, House of Five Leaves and Tatami Galaxy was sort of the perfect double bill in that I think both appeal to a similar crowd.
Yeah.
And also, too, I would argue that they're both shows that you could convince people who don't normally watch anime and who are into, like I said, the art house stuff. Yes. I think you could make cases for them.
But I think you would still use Brotherhood as like a gateway drug nowadays.
Well, if you're trying to get people to watch anime.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah.
If you're like, talking to your friend who's into, I don't know, like obscure Polish art films, I think you'd be like, hey, you might dig this House of Five Leaves stuff.
Yeah, it's like, hey, check out Tatami Galaxy.
I swear that it's, like Andrei Rublev and, the hordes are coming to invade for the fort. Sorry, I'm being really obscure now.
Notice what we haven't said, though.
What?
Angel Beats.
I just don't think people really watch it anymore.
No, it was big at the time. But yeah, there we go. That was spring 2010. It was a busy season, certainly.
It was a season.
It was a season.
I'm looking forward, though, to our next installment.
Oh, because you get to talk about...
Summer 2010.
You get to talk about your anime of the decade, but you will.
Is it? Probably.
High School of the Dead. Well,
excuse me, from that author, Triage X is a much, much better piece.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, see you next time.
Bye.